Get out, you low life. Those were my father's exact words, not shouted in anger, but spat, like poison he'd been waiting to release for years. My mother didn't even look at me. She just folded her arms and said, "We did everything for you. You turned out to be nothing." That was the moment I knew it was over. Not just the argument, but the illusion. So I stood there, in the same living room where I'd once done my homework on a broken table, where I'd prayed for their approval like it was oxygen, and said, "Okay, fine." Then I walked out. No shouting, no tears, no explanations. They wouldn't have heard me anyway. They called me uneducated because I never went to college. I left home at 18 to work construction, then landscaping, then a small business cleaning foreclosed houses. While my classmates chased degrees, I chased patterns. What sold, what stayed, what neighborhoods died, and which ones came back to life. By 25, I owned 3 properties. By 30, I was flipping 20 houses a year. Now, at 36, I own a real estate development company. And last year, I made $20 million. But to them, I was still the dropout, the embarrassment, the son who didn't listen. They never asked what I'd been doing all these years. They just assumed failure fit me better than success. So I let them. That night, I stayed in a motel, slept on a mattress thinner than a prayer, and I smiled. Because while they were shouting, I'd been recording. Not for revenge, at least not yet, just for clarity. I listened to it once more. My father's voice, filled with contempt. My mother agreeing. The part where she said, "You'll come crawling back like always." I remember thinking, you won't see me crawl again. The next morning, I drove south. 6 hours later, the ocean appeared. Blue, endless, mine. My beach house in Florida had been a quiet escape until that day. Floor-to-ceiling glass, white walls, silence that hummed with peace. It was the first place I'd ever owned that felt like freedom. I walked out to the balcony, looked at the waves, and said to myself, "You wanted me gone. Now you'll learn what gone really means." 3 weeks later, my sister called. I hadn't spoken to her in months. She said, "They're asking where you are. Dad's been trying to reach you." I almost laughed. The same man who called me trash suddenly wanted to talk. I told her I'd think about it. I didn't. 2 days after that, I got a call from my father. I didn't answer. Then one from my mother. Ignored. Finally, a text. "We need your help. The house is being taken by the bank." Of course it was. Their mortgage was massive, their spending worse. They'd used my name once before to co-sign a car loan. This time, they had no one left to manipulate. They wanted my money, the Lowlife's money, to save them. So, I helped, just not the way they expected. I wired their bank, quietly, not a payment, a purchase. Through my company, under a holding name, I bought their mortgage outright. Every cent of their debt now belonged to me. Then, a week later, they received a letter, a foreclosure notice, signed by the CEO of the company they didn't know I owned. They called again, panicked this time. "They're taking our house." I said, calm as glass, "I know, I'm the one taking it." There was silence. Then my father said, "You wouldn't do that to us." And I replied, "You already did it to me." I ended the call. When the eviction day came, I didn't go, but my property manager did. He told me how my father stood there shouting at the officers, how my mother wept, clutching photo frames she'd never earned the right to keep. They moved into a rental, one I owned too, a small, quiet irony. Months later, I went back, to the house that used to be theirs. I walked through the empty rooms, smelled the stale perfume of memory and pride. In the living room, I stood where I'd last heard those words, "Get out, you low life." And I whispered, I did. And I leveled up. Then I sold the house, made a profit, bought another property by the sea. My sister says I should forgive them, that family is everything. Maybe she's right, but family should build you, not bury you. And I learned that sometimes walking away isn't revenge, it's evolution. Now I sit on my balcony, watching the sun fall into the water, and I think about the last time they saw me. Head down, beaten, dismissed. They thought they threw me out of their house. What they really did was set me free from their ceiling. And the funny part? They still tell people I got lucky. But luck doesn't buy you 20 million. Discipline does. Silence does. Control does. And when they drive past the oceanfront now, they see my house. They don't know it's mine, but that's the beauty of revenge. Sometimes the sweetest justice is being unreachable.